Hey there, and welcome. So today we're going to dive into something that's running behind the scenes of pretty much everything you do online. Authorization. You might not see it, but it's the invisible gatekeeper of our digital world, and we're about to figure out exactly how it works. I want you to think about this for a second. You've put in your username, you've typed in your password, and bam, you're in. The system knows it's you, but you still can't just wander into the admin settings or, take a peek at your CEO's private files. So why not? Well, that question right there, that's the whole key to understanding the difference between a system knowing who you are and deciding what you're allowed to do. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. On the left, you've got authentication. Think of it this way. That's just you showing your ID at a security desk. It's all about answering the question, who are you? But then you have authorization on the right. This is the next step. This is what happens after they know who you are. It's a totally different question. Okay, we know who you are. Now, what are you actually allowed to do in here? Right, so probably the easiest way to wrap your head around this whole thing is to think of authorization as your digital keycard. Once security checks your ID, and remember, that's authentication, they hand you a keycard, and that card is programmed just for you with your specific permissions. That card is your authorization. Okay, so here's the more official definition, but it's exactly what we've been talking about. Authorization is the process of figuring out what an already authenticated user is allowed to do. And the most important part, and I really can't say this enough, is that it always happens after successful authentication. You have to prove you're you first, and only then does the system figure out what you get to access. When you strip it all down, every single one of these complex authorization systems with all their crazy rules and policies, it all boils down to this one simple question. It's not about who you are anymore. It's all about your rights, your privileges inside that system. Okay, so that brings up a good question, right? How does a system even decide who gets which keycard? How does it know what you're allowed to do? Well, most systems use one of two main models to grant that access. And those two big models are called RBAC, which stands for Role-Based Access Control, and ABAC, or Attribute-Based Access Control. Sounds a little technical, I know, but let's break down what they actually mean. It's simpler than it sounds. All right, check this out. This is RBAC, and what's great about this is how simple it is. Your permissions are tied directly to your role. It's right there in the name. You can see it on the table. If your role is HR manager, boom, you get access to the HR folder. Makes sense. If you're an analyst in the finance department, you get the finance folder. Your job title is literally your key. It's predictable, it's static, super straightforward. Okay, so now let's look at the other model, ABAC. If RBAC is that simple keycard that just depends on your job title, think of ABAC as a smart keycard. It's way more dynamic. See, it doesn't just check your role, it checks a whole bunch of other things, what they call attributes. Things like, are you using a company laptop? Are you logging in during work hours? Are you even in the right country? Access can be granted or denied based on a mix of all these factors. It's this flexibility that makes ABAC so powerful for really complex, high-security situations where the context of how we are logging in matters just as much as who you are. Now, it doesn't really matter if a system is using RBAC or ABAC or, some other wild system. There is one golden rule that governs all of it. It's like the bedrock concept of cybersecurity, and it's called the principle of least privilege. And the principle is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It means a user, or even a program, should only be given the absolute bare minimum level of access or privilege that they need to do their job, and not one single permission more. And the reason for this is so simple. If your account ever gets hacked, this principle massively limits the damage an attacker can do. They can only access what you could access, which shouldn't be very much. And this slide just says it all, right? You don't get the master key to the whole building just because you need to get into the mailroom. If you only need one permission to get your job done, you get exactly one permission. That's it. This is really the heart of what we call a zero-trust security mindset. So, okay, why does any of this really matter to you? Well, because these are the ideas that are actively protecting your data every single day. It's how you can share a Google Doc with just one specific person, but not the entire internet. It's what lets an intern post on a company's Twitter account without being able to see everyone's salary. Authorization is basically the invisible architecture of trust and security for our entire online world. Okay, so let's do a super quick recap of the big takeaways here. First,
Always remember, authentication comes first. You prove who you are before the system decides what you can do. Second, access is usually managed by one of two models: simple roles, that's RBAC, or those more dynamic attributes, ABAC. And finally, the golden rule of it all: always around the absolute minimum access needed, the principle of least privilege. And that really leaves us with a bigger, more philosophical question to chew on, because this isn't just about computers and code anymore, is it? It's about control, it's about privacy, and it's about access to information in our society. As our lives get more and more connected, the question of who gets to set these rules, who decides what each of us is authorized to see and do, well, that's becoming one of the most important questions of our time.